Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into the wonderfully weird world of English idioms.
Hmm.
You know, those phrases that seem, well, totally nonsensical at first glance, but native speakers use them constantly.
All the time.
So, our mission for you listening is to explore why English has so many of these quirky expressions, and importantly, how you can actually get your head around them without, sounding out of place.
Exactly. And we've looked at some great material that really breaks down this whole area.
Yeah, like why do we say it's raining cats and dogs? It makes zero literal sense.
Right. Or how break a leg somehow means good luck.
Or I'm all ears. Thankfully, no surgery involved there.
Hopefully not.
So by the end of this, you should have a much better grip on it. We're going to look at, I think, three main types of idioms.
That's right. 3 types. And we'll dig into the story behind Spill the Beans, which is quite surprising.
Ooh. Okay. And crucially, how to use context clues so you don't misuse them.
Definitely key. Ready to jump in.
Let's do it. So where do we start? These categories.
Yeah, let's start there. The sources sort of group them,
Mm.
which is helpful. The first lot are, let's call them semi-transparent idioms. They have a kind of logic if you squint a bit.
Semi-transparent. Okay. So you can almost see the connection if you think about it. Like hit the books,
Yeah.
meaning study hard.
Right. You can sort of picture the frustration, maybe wanting to literally hit the books after hours of studying.
Or maybe cost an arm and a leg. Very expensive.
Exactly. It implies a huge sacrifice, right? Even though nobody's actually losing limbs, it's exaggerated but relatable.
Okay, got it. So there's some logic. What's the next type?
Then we get into the historical ones. And this is where, language really carries bits of the past. Understanding the history is often the key.
This is the really cool stuff. Like spill the beans, reveal a secret.
Hmm.
The material we looked at suggests this might come from ancient Greece with voting.
Yeah, exactly. Using beans like as ballots in jars or something. And if you knock the jar over,
Yeah, you spilled the beans, revealed the vote count early.
precisely.
Yeah.
Kind of neat, isn't it?
Very neat. Any others like that?
Well, there's bite the bullet, meaning, endure something painful or difficult.
Okay. Where is that from? Sounds painful.
It is. It apparently comes from surgery, way back before proper anesthesia.
Yeah.
Patients would literally be given a lead bullet to bite down on
Wow. Just to cope with the pain.
to cope with the intense pain. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
pretty stark origin, but it makes the idiom's meaning crystal clear.
Definitely gives you a vivid image. Okay, so we have logical-ish ones, historical ones. What's a third kind? You mentioned nonsense.
Pretty much.
Mhm.
The sources call them complete nonsense idioms, and I think these are the ones that really trip people up, especially learners.
Yeah, I bet. Because there's no obvious link.
Exactly. No clear logical connection between the words and the meaning. The classic example is, it's raining cats and dogs.
Right. Means raining really heavily. But why cats and dogs?
Honestly, the origin is really murky. There are theories about, like, animals washing off thatched roofs in heavy storms,
Mm.
or maybe Norse mythology links,
Hmm.
but nothing certain. It's
Right.
just a phrase.
Huh. Okay, so sometimes there's just no clear reason. What about let the cat out of the bag? Also revealing a secret.
Yeah, another good one in this category. The story there, or one popular story anyway, goes back to medieval markets.
Okay.
Apparently, dodgy sellers would try to swap a piglet you'd bought, which was valuable, for a worthless cat inside a bag, or a poke.
Seriously?
So the story goes. And if you open the bag too early, you'd let the cat out, revealing the scam. The secret's out.
Wow. Medieval scams giving us idioms.
Okay. So you see the range, right? From sort of metaphorical to historical to seemingly totally random.
Which does lead to the big question, why? Why do we have these? Why does English rely on them so much? They seem like they just make things harder for learners.
That's a fair point. They can be tricky.
Yeah.
But the materials suggest a few reasons. Firstly, they can actually be shortcuts.
Shortcuts? How so?
Well, take jump the gun, means acting too soon. It's quicker to say that than you acted prematurely before waiting for the proper signal or moment.
Okay. It packs more meaning into fewer words once you know it.
Exactly.
Efficiency. Secondly, some function almost like cultural inside jokes. Shared knowledge.
A piece of cake, meaning something's easy.
Right. It taps into that shared idea that cake is easy and enjoyable to eat, maybe compared to something difficult or unpleasant. It's a cultural reference point.
A little linguistic wink. I like
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm. But then you definitely get idioms where the origin is just bizarre or lost to time, like pure linguistic chaos, as the sources put it.
Kick the bucket, meaning to die.
That's the one. There's a theory, kind of grim, about an old method of suicide involving standing on a bucket. It's debated, but it shows how weird the origins can be.
Right. Sometimes you just have to accept it's weird.
And one source made a really good point. If an idiom seems baffling to you as a learner, chances are it seemed weird to native speakers at some point, too.
Huh. That's actually comforting. Language is just messy sometimes.
It really is. It evolves.
Okay, so for our listeners trying to decode all this, how do you guess what an idiom means if you encounter a new one? Any tips from the sources? Absolutely. The number one thing is context. Look at the situation, the other words around it.
Right. So if someone says, wow, she really bent over backwards to help me out.
Exactly. Even if you don't know bent over backwards, the word help strongly suggests she made a huge effort, worked really hard.
Okay, context first. Anything else?
Try to spot a key word. Sometimes a word inside the idiom gives a clue, like in once in a blue moon.
Meaning, rarely.
Yeah. The word moon, or just the idea of time in there, hints at frequency, or lack of it.
Makes sense. Look for anchor words.
And maybe the most vital tip, always assume it's not literal. Almost never.
Good rule of thumb. If someone says, hold your horses.
They don't want you to find some horses and hold them.
Right. They just mean, wait, slow down. The context usually makes that clear.
Precisely. And we also found a great listener hack in the material.
Oh, yeah.
If you're really stuck, just Google it.
Yeah.
Seriously. Searching the idiom plus the word origin or meaning works wonders.
That's practical. And learning the origin can actually help you remember it, too.
Definitely makes it stickier. But, it's not just learners who stumble over idioms. Native speakers mess them up, too, sometimes.
Oh, tell me about these idiom fails. I love these.
Well, one classic mistake is mashing two idioms together. Like, someone might say, oh, we'll burn that bridge when we get to it.
Hang on. That's mixing cross that bridge when we come to it and burn your bridges, right?
Exactly. Sounds completely wrong.
Okay, what else?
Taking them too literally. The source had a funny example. Someone hears, I gave him the cold shoulder.
Okay, meaning acted unfriendly towards him.
Right. But the listener asks, so, you, froze his arm.
Ah. Yeah, literal interpretations get absurd fast.
They really do. And apparently some idioms just sound dated now, like don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Meaning don't discard something valuable along with the unnecessary stuff, but yeah, sounds a bit old-fashioned.
It can.
Yeah.
So the advice is generally stick to the common ones you hear a lot, hit the nail on the head, stuff like that. Maybe be cautious with rarer ones like by the skin of your teeth unless you're really sure.
Good tip. We actually have a listener story that fits perfectly here.
Oh, yeah.
Someone apparently told their boss they'd touch base tomorrow and then literally tapped the boss's arm when they saw him.
Oh, no. Literally touched the base.
Exactly. A perfect, if slightly awkward example of literal interpretation.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Really shows how figurative this stuff is. Which leads nicely into a challenge for our listeners.
Right. From the material, it's called Idiom Spy. Your mission, listeners.
Should you choose to accept it.
Over the next few days, try to actively listen for idioms in TV shows, podcasts, conversations, anywhere.
Action 1. When you hear one like maybe, that blew my mind, note it down.
Action 2. Guess what it means based on the context. Then Google it to check the actual meaning and maybe the origin.
And Action 3. Try to use it, maybe in a text message or a casual chat. Yeah, I'm on the fence about that movie.
It's a great way to make them feel less intimidating and more like tools you can actually use.
Absolutely. And don't worry if you misunderstand at first. The sources mentioned someone thinking that's the last straw was about running out of drinking straws.
Aha. See? It happens. Context isn't always foolproof if the idiom is totally new.
Exactly.
So, wrapping this up. Idioms. They're weird, they're wonderful, they often don't make logical sense.
Kind of a secret code sometimes.
But they are absolutely vital for sounding fluent and, natural in English. You kind of have to embrace the weirdness.
You really do. And speaking of tricky language bits, in our next deep dive,
Ooh, what's next?
we're tackling the dark side of homophones, specifically why there, and there can feel like they're designed to ruin your writing.
Oh, the classic trio of terror. Definitely tuning in for that one.
It should be enlightening.
Okay, so final thought for everyone listening today, now that we've journeyed through idiom land, think about your own native language. What everyday phrases do you use that might sound utterly baffling to an English speaker learning your language?
That's a great question.
And what does that tell us about all those unspoken layers of meaning, the cultural shorthand, embedded in how we all talk? Something to ponder.
Definitely something to think about.
Until our next deep dive, keep listening, keep exploring.